As many of you know, I'm not really that type of person that goes crazy over theming because I'm much more of a roller coaster enthusiast than a theme park enthusiast. That doesn't mean, however, that I don't enjoy a good dark ride. A good dark ride or two is something that every park needs, as they are enjoyed by both families and are just great for when the weather isn't formidable. Considering that I live in the United States and have only been to 13 parks, I believe I actually have been on a surprising amount of dark rides, 26 of them to be exact, so here I am to give the ranking. Also, just to clear this up, some of these rides may not be your standard shooting or Omnimover style dark rides. I'm basically just going to include a ride if it has a relatively slow themed indoor section. So coming in last place relatively easily is the Great Pistolero Roundup at Family Kingdom. I should start off by mentioning an important detail. A lot of people don't like this ride because it's not the most politically correct, just a warning. But that isn't really the main reason why I don't like it. I rode it twice and both times none of the guns were working. And when really the only movement of the 2D sets is when you hit a target, it really isn't going to work with the guns broken. Plus the ride is extremely short and you get a feel the whole time that it's a bit dated. At number 25 is the only other ride on this list that I have a negative opinion of, and that's Stitch's Great Escape at Disney's Magic Kingdom. You'll find that many of the rides in this video will be from Florida. But man, I forgot how bad this ride was until making this video. You basically just sit in a room while Stitch does some stuff in the center of the room and nothing really happens. It's just boring, and at least they've taken it down now so people don't have to waste their time on it anymore. Maybe the largest gap in the video comes between the numbers 25 and 24, and at number 24 is REESE'S Extreme Cup Challenge, a shooting dark ride. This is another recently defunct attraction, but it was just good fun when it was around. Nothing amazing, but some simple theming and effects. It was a good way to cool off, and it seemed like the guns were always working. It was just a good ride for families. Taking the 23 spot is The Seas with Nemo and Friends. I don't think that this is a bad ride at all. It's great to stop in if you want to cool off or have little kids. The reason I rank it this low is because there's really nothing special or memorable about it. You just move along looking at stuff on screens, not much to it. In fact, I completely forgot about it at first when making this video, and now I have to come back and write this part of the video. It's not a bad ride, in fact it's quite enjoyable, but there's just not a whole lot to it. Moving to number 22, we have Despicable Me Minion Mayhem at Universal's Islands of Adventure. Basically how this ride works is you start by going through a pre-show that's actually surprisingly good. It tells you everything that you need to know in a way that everyone can understand. Then you enter a big room and board a vehicle located in front of a giant screen. And the way it works is you watch a 3D video while the car kind of moves in sync with what's going on the screen. And I could see how someone could love this, as the animation is decent and there's plenty of 3D interaction moments, but personally I prefer rides that are less screen based and have actual sets. That's a big reason why at numbers 21 and 20 I rank some rides that, given this list of rides, most people will probably have in the top 10. Those are Transformers The Ride 3D at number 21 and The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man at number 20. Personally, I don't feel very immersed in an attraction where if I take my 3D glasses off, the world I'm looking at doesn't exist at all. It's just a screen. That being said, I still do enjoy both attractions as the action is non-stop and you don't get a break until the rides end. Plus, you cannot deny how much detail is put into these. Also, I love how the Autobots and Transformers are actually talking to you. Moving to number 19 is a ride that couldn't be any more different than those last two rides, and that is It's a Small World at Disney's Magic Kingdom. Opening in 1971, Small World has been putting smiles on people's faces for 49 years, while at the same time tormenting them with that song that'll be stuck in their head for the next 10 to 20 years. At least it's a pleasant song though. And that's really what the ride is. It's a pleasant celebration of different cultures, and it may have outdated technology, but that's never going to stop me from enjoying this classic. At the 18th spot, we have Justice League Battle for Metropolis at Six Flags St. Louis. You can find the same ride at multiple Six Flags parks, but the one I've ridden was at St. Louis. So if something I say sounds wrong, it probably doesn't apply to the other models. But about the ride, I'm pretty sure that everyone was surprised by just the quality of this ride. It's really not something that you'd expect to find at a Six Flags park, yet here it is. It's on par with something that you find at a Universal park, and you can see that from some of the rides I rank below it. But the main reason why I do rank this above Spider-Man and Transformers is because it actually feels like you're part of the experience a lot more because you're the one shooting the bad guys. The only reason why I don't rank this higher is because, like I said, I prefer more set-based dark rides. But it is understandable why this relies on screens so much because you can't really have IRL superhero battles. Number 17 is the last shooting attraction that you'll see on the list, and that's Men in Black Alien Attack. I seriously don't understand why people hate on this thing. Sure, the effects may be a little bit dated, but they're so detailed regardless. And plus, for a ride with the theme that it has, there's so much charm to be found. Also, the ride even gives a little bit of a thrill with the vehicle spinning, but the spins are spread out so it's nothing that's gonna make you sick. Sitting in the 16 spot is Under the Sea. If you've ever been feeling down, then this would be the perfect ride for you because it somehow always manages to put you in a good mood. It may be about a story aimed at a younger audience, but everything from the music, to the color palette, to the animatronics, to the happy ending will make sure that Under the Sea is a positive part of your Disney World experience. But what's maybe the most impressive part is how it manages to tell the entire story of The Little Mermaid in just 5 minutes, and also in a way that everyone can understand. Number 15, you might not expect to find this high had you not been on the ride, but my pick is Log Chute at Nickelodeon Universe Mall of America. The ride originally opened back in 1992 when the park was known as Knott's Camp Snoopy, and it was themed to Paul Bunyan. But even as everything else in the park is rethemed to something Nickelodeon related, Log Chute has not, and that's a good thing too, as it brings a lot of character to a park that's really lacking in that department. You might expect the scenery to be mediocre at best, but it probably gives the most visually appealing on-ride experience in the park with that rock work, the views it gives the whole park, and the giant Paul Bunyan statue. Taking the 14th spot is Harry Potter and the Escape from Gringotts, only coaster to make the list. This might have just been the best queue line of any ride I have experienced. As a massive Harry Potter fan, walking down that massive bank feels surreal as we've all dreamed of living in that world. I cannot put into words how accurate those animatronics are. But about the actual ride, it's an Intamin, and if you didn't know, it's supposed to simulate traveling down to the vaults of Diagon Alley. And the ride is almost entirely screen-based, but there are a few thrilling moments landing its spot this high. At number 13 is Skull Island Reign of Kong, the only ride that had a line when I was at Universal. This is a very unique ride system. It acts as if you're going on a safari almost, so it's definitely unique, and I like that. Like a lot of the rides in this video, Kong is largely screen-based, but the real moments that it has are amazing. First of all, that Kong animatronic might just be the most impressive animatronic on Earth. The sheer skill is nuts, and the attention to detail is awesome. From the wrinkles on his face, to the scars, to the hair, everything Kong has is there. Also, that rockwork when you're entering the main show building really sets that intimidating feel. Number 12 is the Carousel of Progress, and man, I could ride this thing all day long. If you didn't know, it basically visualizes the progression of the American home starting back in the 1890s before eventually moving to what I describe as the 1980s version of the future. Seriously, it looks straight out of Back to the Future Part 2. A lot of people probably find this subject boring and they wouldn't rank it as high, but I'm weird, so I do. Plus that There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow song will never get old, and I love how the style in which it's performed changes as time moves on. The ride may be outdated, but that just sort of gives it a feeling that's very hard to replicate. The 11th spot brings us to Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey. Now before you get in the comments telling me about those Golem Ticket awards, let me just explain. Objectively, yes, it is a top 3 dark ride that I've ridden. The ride system you can find in few other places and you really feel immersed in the experience. The only reason why I rank it this low though is because it made me a bit sick, so I wasn't able to truly enjoy the ride. But other than that, it's hard to put into words how absolutely stunning Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey is. At number 10, we have an absolute classic in Pirates of the Caribbean at Magic Kingdom. Looking at POVs, Pirates wouldn't strike you as a ride that would be one of your favorites at the resort. It's just another slow dark ride, right? But that could not be further from the truth. But to be honest, I really don't know why. You're just looking at a bunch of drunk pirates while slowly going through some water. But there's something so special about that you want to keep coming back and riding again and again. Another ride that has so much charm is the classic Haunted Mansion at Disney's Magic Kingdom. What's probably the most stunning thing about the Haunted Mansion is the optical illusions. I think we've all heard of them because the ride could not work without them. Plus, most of the effects are old sorts of things that could have been pulled off back in the 70s, but they still manage to hold up just as well to this day. In terms of how scary the ride is, it gives you a creepy feeling, but it's nothing too over the top to the point that kids couldn't handle it. Heck, this is one of my favorite rides when I was 6 years old. The Haunted Mansion is one of those rides that you just have to get on before your life is complete. Moving to something much more modern, we have Mission Space at number 8. Like most rides at Disney World, Mission Space has something for everyone, as it's comprised of two sides. There's Green Mission, which is low intensity, and there's Orange Mission, which is higher intensity. In fact, Orange Mission might just be the most intense ride at all of the resort. The point of the ride is to make you feel like you're an astronaut controlling a spaceship, and they do a really good job at making it feel as realistic as possible. Each person is assigned a role, either commander, navigator, engineer, and of course the highly coveted pilot position. There's controls all around you and you really feel immersed in the experience. Man, I could go on all day about how cool it feels to sit in that cockpit, but we don't have that time, so let's move on. Coming in number 7 was 100% the most sleeper ride at the Universal Orlando Resort, and that's E.T. Adventure. I cannot believe how underappreciated this ride is, and how the ride still holds its own in Universal's lineup despite being an opening day attraction back on June 7th, 1990. Let's start with that queue line. It's just a complete jungle, so you're immersed in the world from the start. Then something that really sticks out to me is that it's hard to see what's carrying through the course, so it appears as if you're just floating through there, almost getting a different angle of that classic movie. And I don't think that updating the ride would make it better because it's an 80s movie, it's not supposed to feel new. I should also mention that you'll love this ride even if you have not seen E.T. I had not at the time of riding, and I still absolutely loved the ride. And now that I've seen the movie, I'm sure I'd love it even more. Moving back to Epcot, we have yet another classic sleeper hit in Spaceship Earth. This ride is located inside of Epcot's iconic geosphere, and lucky enough, it doesn't even have a height requirement. The whole ride is essentially a journey through time from back in the Stone Age all the way up to today, and it highlights key moments in history as it goes along. As a history buff, of course, I'm gonna absolutely love this ride, hence a high placement. I mean, I even loved this thing back when I was 6 years old. I rode it 14 times during the day that I had Epcot. Also, it's an extremely long ride, about 15 minutes in length, yet it never seems to get boring as there's always something happening, and each time you ride it you notice different things as it's a very detailed ride, so you can ride over and over again without getting bored. The recent planned ride reimagination has been postponed, and I'm very happy about that because it's fine just the way it is. Moving into the top 5, we have Dudley Do-Right's Ripsaw Falls. I know that it's a water ride, but I also consider it a bit of a dark ride, same as I do with Log Chute at Nickelodeon Universe. Let me just say that you get soaked on this ride, absolutely drenched to the bone, so I don't recommend if you don't like water, but if you're like me and just don't care, you'll love it. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I really like the artistic style of this ride. It sure is blocky, but that just kinda adds to the cartoony nature. The vibrant color palette does the same thing. But really what matters most is the ride, so of course I have to talk about that signature drop. That might just be the best log flume drop in America. You stop at the top, and if the effects are working right, there should be some mist blocking your view outward. Then you move forward, and the next thing you know, you're plummeting down this massive drop that's followed by a pretty good floater hill. This is just the definition of fun. If you've ever wanted to go everywhere in the world without going anywhere at all, then SOARIN Around the World at Epcot would be the perfect ride for you. I think part of the reason why SOARIN gives such a rush is because of how free you feel. Up in the sky with just a seatbelt, it really doesn't sound like something Disney would do, but hey, it's here. I should also mention that with the music shifting with each change of location, the people around you gasping, and that high quality picture, SOARIN is just pure atmosphere. SOARIN just makes you feel like you're on top of the world both literally and figuratively. The number 3 spot brings us to the now defunct but not forgotten Splash Mountain at Magic Kingdom. Everything about this ride just made it a classic, from the beautiful rock work to the catchy soundtrack to the classic animatronics to the warning signs, all leading up to that wonderful drop with maybe the best log flume near miss ever. Everything about this ride has so much detail, and I understand why they're removing it, but that doesn't mean that this attraction won't be dearly missed. Something that's probably not going anywhere anytime soon though is my number 2 pick, Test Track 2.0. The new version brings a more futuristic theme where you can interact by designing your own car, and getting out on the open highway with it feels so refreshing. Really the only bad part of the ride though is that the change from the original was not necessary, and that's why the number 1 spot is the original Test Track. I much prefer the feeling of being in a real testing facility that is much more apparent here. A lot of people might complain that the ride feels too industrial, but I love it because it fits the theme of the ride. Plus, I just had to put this ride on top as a coaster enthusiast because it gives maybe the biggest thrill of the whole of Walt Disney World Resort. That feeling of launching out of the tunnel before getting a quick jolt of airtime before cruising down the highway will never get old. Man, I'm never gonna forget my 2011 visit to Epcot, which consisted of just lapping Spaceship Earth and OG Test Track with no lines. So anyway, that's just about gonna wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching this video. Remember to leave your thoughts, suggestions, and video ideas in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya.